Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. We are a weekly podcast focusing on the paranormal, the supernatural, and the metaphysical. Join us for thought-provoking discussions on paranormal phenomena, conspiracies, and all things unexplained as we talk to researchers and investigators about ghosts and hauntings, UFOs and aliens, urban legends, cryptids, and so much more. Please be sure to like and subscribe and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. You can also visit us at paranormallypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. So grab yourself a drink and a snack, turn the lights off on the way back, find yourself a nice comfy spot, and enjoy this episode of Paranomaly. Stay with us, folks. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. We got a great show. We're talking to Lala Bright and Science Bob later on. Now, Lala, I know that you have a lot going on. You are an artist, which I see you do very well at. You're a psychic medium. You are a contactee, abductee.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of crazy things go on, including having an implant in your leg. Is that correct?
Yeah, my left upper outer leg. Yeah.
Wow. And you've seen UFOs quite often now, so you definitely have some connection going on with UFOs and aliens.
Yeah, I would see them. Now I call to them, I talk to them, but before they would just show up and I didn't really think twice about it. They numbed me so much, but I've seen from orange orbs to the detail of the craft. I mean, it's up close, far away, my whole life. I know it started when I was around 5. I don't remember actually seeing them while awake, but I would keep having dreams a couple times a month, every month for years, about me in my backyard at night looking up, and there'd be a bunch of the same shaped silver discs going over my head slowly, leaving. And not until maybe 2 or 3 years later, my dad was watching an alien movie, and I saw a craft, and I go, I know what they are. I dream about them all the time, so... But he didn't like the topic. Me and him were best friends. He would talk about everything paranormal, but he did not like talking about aliens. And I found out later that he had experiences. But.
So let me ask this question before we get too far ahead and in depth here. Now, when did all this start? Did this start like how old was you when you started with? Did you have any instances with ghosts, hauntings, things like that? What came first?
Honestly, around the same time, was a 5, almost 6. My neighbor that we loved, and I called Grandma Cheyenne, she passed away, and my parents and I went to go find her gravesite. And in Baltimore, there's one that has like thousands of graves. It's very big. And they went off one way, and I went off another. And I hear in my ear say, I'm over here. And I felt like someone gently led me and put my hand on a grave. And I said, she's over here. And I really couldn't read that well. And my parents looked at each other. And my dad knew it was time to talk to me about what we can do, because he was a psychic Reiki person. But my mom did not like it.
He knew right at that point, as soon as you were led to that grave, that, something's going on. She's psychic as well, or something like that.
Yeah. But he took it slow. He was very gentle. He didn't push any information on me. He would show me certain things if I thought it was fun. He would teach me more about like the pendulum or tarot cards or meditation, remote viewing. But but I just saw it as games, pretty much, you know.
All right, interesting. And now, when you first had contact with a UFO, how old was you then? But you said it was real close. He was real close.
So the dreams of UFOs started around the 5-6 year time. The craft that I remember for the first time, I think I was 18 years old, and I was near Pennsylvania in a field with a boyfriend.
Where at in Pennsylvania? Because we're from Pennsylvania.
It's the line. Oh my God! It's by Friendly Farms. Where is that? It's the restaurant. It's like the line of Maryland, Pennsylvania. Because we went to Friendly Farms.
Okay.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Not real
No, that's okay.
Area, but yeah, okay.
Anyway, he decided he was gonna hit the bong, and I didn't do that. So at the time, anyway, and I looked up, and I kept being drawn to this one star, and I didn't know why, but all of a sudden, this star moved and zoomed around another star, zigzagged, zoomed off, and disappeared. And that was the first time awake I remember seeing a craft. And it was like almost like it was calling me to look at it. It's always a calling that I feel, but I'm not even aware they're calling me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the restaurant is in Bucks County.
Okay. Yeah. But it was right up there.
It's right there by the border of Maryland.
Yeah.
So yes, interesting.
And so did that start, did that begin, a kind of phase of more sightings, or?
Now looking back, I had a lot more sightings than I realized. I don't think I knew exactly what I was seeing, honestly. I had a lot of missing time most of my life. And also, like I said, when they would abduct me, they would make me numb so that I wouldn't look into it. I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't remember most of it. But I remember I would see a huge circle flash in my backyard, and it would disappear. And then I would hear this man, but he sounded like very almost like a godly voice say, "Do not fear me." And it was just a reoccurring strange. It didn't feel like a ghost, because ghosts have different feelings. I pick up more emotion from spirits. Aliens, I don't pick up that much feeling from. So it's always like this weird big flash or a weird orb, and then I'll have missing time. So, but I just didn't put two and two together at all.
And now, is this an experience that you later on recall, or are you, like, when you see the flash, is this something that you wake up the next morning and then you remember, oh, I have this weird memory of a flash? Or was this, you were totally conscious continuously throughout it?
Yeah.
And it was a flash, like, usually at night when you were in bed, outside your window, or where was it and when was it?
I'd be outside in the backyard, and we had a bunch of trees, and the light would be as bright as the sun, as big as a house. But it would be in between by the tree. It won't be on top, it won't be on the ground. It would just be in between, and no animals made sounds. And when you don't hear animal sounds, something's wrong,
Yeah, that's something that a lot of other abductees mention, that there was this, before an abduction or some kind of sighting or event where there was a craft, there's this eerie silence. I think it's something to do with field propulsion, and the field propulsion maybe repels, or hopefully, I don't know, maybe it kills insects or something, or suppresses them. But yeah, you hear that a lot, people saying that, right before this happened, there was just this weird silence, no insect sounds or anything. So yeah, that's consistent. So all right, let's go to like the first prominent experience of maybe whenever. So you had an experience one time where you witnessed a helicopter or something that was shining a light on a cloud. So take us through that, like, moment by moment.
Okay.
Full detail as to what happened there.
So I've seen a couple helicopters chasing after crafts, but this one was amazing. My friend Michelle and I would drive around and get coffee, and we sat at the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot, and we kept seeing, it was nighttime, and we kept seeing this reddish orb, like they kept flying over the car. I mean, really high, but flying over. And at first we thought, well, maybe it's like a shooting star, I don't know. But it kept happening, and we got nervous. So I said, well, let's just drive home. And I got on the road, and I wasn't going fast. It was slow. And all of a sudden, there was this really big cloud, like football field big cloud. And this I guess it was like a black or at least a dark helicopter, and it flew up, and it just hovered, and it shined this huge spotlight on the cloud. And that's why I saw what was in there. It was because of the light. I would have never seen it. And all I saw was the bottom of this big craft, and it looked like a bunch of metal pipes intertwined.
So it immediately seemed like a craft,
definitely.
And were you just seeing a portion of it underneath the cloud? So a lot of it was obscured by the cloud, but you were able to see some portion of it underneath
where the light shined. And it was like black metal, and then under here was this metal pipes, and they were intertwined with each other, but the pipes were so big, they were as big as the body of the helicopter. So this thing was massive. And it didn't, my brain still doesn't understand why are there pipes underneath this craft. But anyway.
That's an unusual feature. Yeah. I mean, probably not totally unusual. I mean, there's so much variation with craft, and
right.
People that have seen odd craft before, but that is kind of a little bit unique to me. Pipe looking things and twisted together.
Yeah. But it was just hovering. It wasn't flying around. They both were just hovering, and I drove under it. And I remember as I drove under it, eventually all I saw were the pipes and no more sky because it was so big. And I drove past it, and I saw the sign for Baltimore, and then I don't remember anything else. I don't remember taking her home. She doesn't remember any of this. And I don't remember taking her home, going to bed. I just remember waking up the next day, which is a common thing with me.
Right.
Because I talked to her about it a couple days later, I guess. And she goes, I don't remember any of that. And I didn't push it because she seemed nervous, so maybe she just didn't want to talk about it. But usually we would talk about that kind of like spooky stuff, So
go back. You're at Dunkin' Donuts. Did you deliberately drive towards the craft or
not
something?
On purpose. Not on purpose, no.
Okay, so when you say not on purpose, because a lot you hear this a lot with abductees. I had this strange compulsion to drive, north, an hour, or I had this strange compulsion to go outside my house to the barn in the middle of the night, and I don't know why.
Right.
Are you suggesting that maybe something like that happened there? So you started up the car, you were parked, you started up the car, and you just decided to go, and you didn't know where you were going, and you just started driving towards the direction of it.
I was taking her home, but I usually got on the highway to take her home. But this time I took the side, like a back kind of a road, so we went slower. I didn't even think, I just did it actually. I didn't really think about it. But now that when I think back on it, I think whatever this thing was, this craft was shooting those red orbs or red balls toward, like, in the sky. I really do, because it just nothing made sense that night. We'd never seen things like that. It was just this red fireball almost. And there were a bunch of them.
And by the way, that's reminiscent of Rendlesham Forest incident, where there was a larger craft, or at least if you believe Larry Warren, there was a larger craft. But what everyone else saw on the base was these little red orbs that sort of shot around, which gave the sense that they might have been probes or something, for the larger craft, sort of scouting out maybe in advance the area.
Wow.
So maybe that's something similar. Did you see the red things at the same time? Like whenever you saw the craft, were you also seeing still the red things zooming around it, or no? The red things were gone by that
point. We were
point.
all going to the right, and I drove to the left.
Okay.
But they and it wasn't all. It was just like they're shooting, and then there's maybe 2 minutes, and then another, and it happened like 10 times. And I'm thinking, is there a war going on I don't know about, or is a shooting star gonna hit my car? So that's why we left, really.
So did you think they were like probes? Well, you probably didn't think that back then, but it's kind of sounds to me. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, honestly, well, that would be my first guess anyway. That would be one guess, that
Especially if there was 10 of
them.
Well, what did they do? What are probes? I'm sorry, I'm stupid. All this, I've experienced stuff, but I don't know about this stuff.
Don't ever say
you like
like
if you've seen Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, the Empire sends in advance before they come in force, small little craft, that have cameras on it and stuff, so they can scout out and see what's going on in the area before they actually move in themselves, with their larger craft. That would just be, and that could be totally wrong, and they might not be probes. They might be something else. That's what we would interpret it as, just having the sort of framework that we do with aircraft and smaller aircraft, but who knows? So whenever you drive to it, and you're driving underneath it, you said at that point it's so large that it totally blots out the sky. So we're talking like mothership size craft.
Yeah.
And you're underneath of it. And are you like, is the alien Xanax going on at that time? Are you real interested driving underneath it, like checking it out, like what is this? Or were you kind of complacent and just kind of complacent?
Yeah.
So there you go. So maybe already. So, and then you go, and then you don't remember. You have no memory of what occurred. Right. What about your friend?
She claims she doesn't remember any of it.
None of it?
No.
Okay.
And I asked her a few times here and there, because I thought maybe she was scared, but I mean, eventually she would have said, okay, yeah, I remember, but nothing. And it's funny, her dad saw a UFO months after on a highway going to his house too, but then his wife, her mom, said, oh, it's just a rocket, or so. I was like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so it happens. I think it happened to certain friends I had. They had a lot of weird experiences, maybe not all aliens, but it just seems like it always was around me, either with people I knew or my family. It just never kind of left these experiences, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a question, Layla? From what I'm gathering, there was a lot of UFO stuff surrounding like your parents as well.
Yeah.
Now, did your mom or dad have anything to do with the military or?
Mm-hmm. My dad, really? Yeah, he did. He did talk about what he did at all. But I found some photos, and he said a little bit here and there, but no, he wouldn't bring it up at all. And eventually I found later on, when I was talking about aliens, just for fun, he said, they do follow me sometimes when I walk the dog at night. And then he just shut up. And he just shut down. So then that's the last time he ever said anything to me about that. So my mom never talked about aliens, but she did have strange paranormal things happen.
So go back to what your dad, the thing about your dad. So, the alien Xanax there, okay, maybe, but this is not during a moment of abduction or anything. He just kind of has this baseline reticence to want to talk about that all the time. So it's not just like, I know there's an experience that I want to get to eventually where you saw these orange orbs and he kind of went robotic and didn't want to say anything to it. Maybe those orbs triggered him or whatever. We'll go into that later. But so he just kind of had this baseline reticence to not want to talk about it. That seems unlikely then to be. It seems unlikely that the aliens would be sort of interfering in that moment, sort of suppressing him. So it seems like there's something maybe experientially that happened, that led him to this kind of fear or something, of just not wanting to go there rather
Right.
than, some kind of technological suppression,
Right.
And did you ever think about that, or what could that have been, abduction experiences potentially in his childhood, or something in his work and his job with the military, or you don't have any other ideas or clues as to what could have happened to lead him to that?
Well, I know he had a lot of trauma in his life, starting at like the age of 2. Um, his dad had a heart attack in front of him and his brother and sister. And then his mom was not the nicest, and then this and that. And then he went into the army, but he went to another branch. He just didn't talk about that. But um, he just, he would say sometimes he felt like he was being watched. He wasn't a paranoid person, but I think that's also another reason why he got into learning about different beings and entities. I think he wanted to know more about what was going on in his experiences, but he just never said it like that. But he found a group of people, and weekly they'd get together and they would, I guess try to contact people. I know he did say that their leader or teacher, whatever, Miss Joanne, she said they had to learn the white and black, or good and dark side of it. And when they started learning the dark side of things, shit started happening at the house. And in my life, that was not the best,
So go into more detail. What kind of group is this?
It was just it was like a handful of people that got together, and they would meditate, but then they would try to like contact entities and
So they were trying
and all kinds of weird stuff. So not weird, but
entities, or were they doing CE5, like trying to call in UFOs?
they were probably doing that. But my kid brain just thought they were like Ouija boarding,
And what time period? And this is when you were younger.
Yeah.
And this is back in what, like 90s or something? Or
He started when I was about 10, and he did it for a good 10 years with these people. But when I was, I guess, 12, he started they dabbled, like, shortly, I was told, into the dark side of things. So I always wonder if maybe that kind of always stuck around, but didn't show its face until later on in life,
I wonder what he meant by that.
I don't know. I always felt like something was around us in the house that wasn't the best, but I didn't ever talk about it, ever, really. So.
And was there any clues or anything that his ET contacts had anything to do with his work? Is there anything at all that would have suggested that he was doing something in the military in that area? Anything at all?
I don't know. He was so quiet about that part of his life. He honestly,
which is one clue in and of itself, maybe. Maybe the fact that he was quiet about, he wouldn't tell you what he was doing. So it sounds like he was doing something that was he was under some kind of NDA or something. He couldn't disclose it.
Yeah, because usually he would talk about anything with me, really. So it was strange, but I knew not to push it. I didn't know. I never had the desire to push the topic, because I knew if he didn't want to talk about this, and something was going on. Because he was usually really a sweet person,
Okay, well, we won't get too in the weeds with your background, but before we move on to your next experience, going back to, again, the craft that the helicopter shined the spotlight on with the pipes, was there any more to that? I thought I remembered you, and maybe I'm getting confused with another experience, saying something about the helicopter that you saw that was unusual. Didn't you say, unless I'm referring to another experience, that you saw a man inside the helicopter that was manning some kind of weapon or something like that? Was that experience?
No, it was a different one.
That's a different experience. Okay.
But it was just as amazing. It was just during the daytime. It was daytime when this happened.
And so there wasn't any more to that experience. You just drove, you blacked out. You don't remember the memories. You never got a regression to go back to that experience or anything with the craft with the pipes.
No.
Okay.
No. I got a regression, but it wasn't for that. And I didn't even ask for it because I'm still working through that numbness. I still feel it. I do. Even when I talk to you guys or somebody else, there's this feeling in me that's like, don't say too much. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it.
That's interesting, huh? Yeah, so I would encourage, with some circumspect though, to find out, uncover what happened during those experiences.
I would
Because
like to.
if there's trauma there in any of those experiences, you'll want to process that and integrate what happened, so that you can heal from it. If there's any kind of residual effects from trauma or anything like that. And that's why regression can be helpful. But at the same time, there's definitely questions with regressions, and I know a lot of the guests we've had on here have gotten regressions and feel kind of a little bit dubious about whether the actual memories that came through during the regression were legitimate or not.
Okay, yeah.
But what's the next interesting experience chronologically, dealing with craft or?
I guess after that was the other helicopter incident. I used to live, the last house I lived at for 10 years, it was right next to an Army base, and right next to that was Lockheed Martin. They were neighbors with each other.
And is this in Maryland?
This is in Maryland, Essex. Maryland.
I just found out from my friend that Lockheed's in Maryland. They have all their
So
yeah,
it's gated off. It's called the Martin State Airport. If anybody wants to look it up, and there's a little man-made island in the back behind it, and they do testing there. But I would always see these bright orbs follow the airplanes that were landing, and then behind the orb was a helicopter, right? And one day I'm driving past it. And by the way, every time I went past this place, my phone would go just make this weird every time. So it was daylight. I'm by myself in the car driving past the place, and I see a bunch of the bright twinkly lights kind of flicker in and out. There's a bigger one in the center, but there's smaller ones around it. And then it goes away. I'm like, am I losing my mind? And I see it again. And all of a sudden I see a black or dark helicopter hovering and slowly following these things around. And they're not really moving that much. But to the other side, there's two white helicopters just staying still, watching, hovering.
You said white helicopters?
Two white helicopters. Eventually there's a gray one, but then that one goes away. So maybe they told it to leave. So the black one was where there was this man standing in the helicopter. And it looked like there was some big machine, like maybe a bazooka, bolted to the floor, and it poked out, and he kept aiming it at these things. But I didn't see anything coming out, so I don't know what it was. But I know I followed them like almost an hour. I kept circling the area. And at one point, the helicopter got so low to the ground that it pushed my car out of the road, and I kind of went into the grass.
Really?
So they shouldn't have done that. First of all, they shouldn't have been doing that at all. So something was not under control, and they were probably freaking out.
Yes, this definitely has the feeling that, this is not something that, they want. I mean, you just never hear of that happening, helicopters that low,
Right.
Seeing people in helicopters, manning some kind of weapon or something.
It was crazy.
That might have been a minigun. I think a lot of times, like Blackhawks helicopters will have like a minigun or maybe 50
Okay.
or mounted in the doorway.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was aiming it at the orbs.
Yep.
That's really interesting. And did you have any kind of blackout or missing time during this event at all?
No, but I know after that, after my car got shoved off a little bit, I was really excited, and then I got a little nervous, and after a while I stopped following them around, and my phone started acting strange to the point where like I made a joke, like I don't know, I made some stupid joke. I was like, I know you can hear me, blah blah, and then my phone shut itself off, turned itself on again, and it just, I don't know, it just acted. It would run the battery really quick, this and that. So I got a new phone eventually. It just freaked me out completely. So I don't know.
So, I wonder if they were worried potentially about you recording. Maybe they were trying to interfere with your phone at that time.
I was taking pictures.
You were taking pictures. Did you get any pictures? Did they come through, or?
The things wouldn't show up on my phone because I was on the phone with my friend, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and the helicopter would show up, but the little things wouldn't show up at all, and he thought I was losing my mind. But I'm like, I really see this, you know? And obviously the helicopter saw it, but they would fade in and out. It wouldn't be solid all the time like they usually are. So.
Was anybody else in the car with you that also saw the orbs?
No.
Interesting. And where was this at again? Was this close to an air base or?
Yeah, it's Martin State Airport in Essex, and it was literally right in front of it, right over their fence or what, a gate. It was right over that. These things were hovering around. Usually the orbs go in and the helicopter follows them, but these wouldn't go in. And they eventually went off farther away, but by that point I just went home. But they were real slow. They didn't fly around fast. They didn't try to run. They just kept kind of moving around.
So they didn't give you the sense that they were trying to evade the helicopters. They seemed like they were just oblivious to the helicopters.
I don't know if they were oblivious, but they weren't scared of it. They weren't running from it. They weren't trying to hurt it. And that was also with the other craft that I saw, the detail, the pipes. That's kind of freaked me out that, first of all, the helicopter's there because they don't know why this thing's here. But also this thing is here and not running from the helicopter. So it's not afraid. So that gave me more to think about. Like, it must be is some type of entity that doesn't fear us. So they have more control or more weapons, or I don't know, you know.
They've obviously got some kind of technological superiority, you would think, that, you know, and they just feel like they have absolutely nothing to worry about. You know, if they're fired upon, you know, they're not going to be damaged or anything.
Right.
It would give you that sense anyway if they're not trying to.
Or they already know they're there. They're working together. You see a lot of military UFO type scenarios where they're working together.
Is that a possibility that that maybe it was just the illusion of pursuing them and maybe they were working in tandem? I mean, could that have been possible?
Yeah, because they weren't fighting at all. It was almost like a little dance back and forth, you know.
And you said you've seen this before, this orbs following planes into the airport. How many times do you see that?
No, they're probably like once every few months I would see it driving by, but just real quick, because at that point I was kind of nervous to stop. But usually it was only one big white orb. This time it was a bunch of little orbs and then one big one. So usually it's not that many at all. But they always follow these private jets that come into the airport.
I wonder if anybody else is seeing anything in that area. I wonder if there's any reports of people seeing strange things around that airport. We should look into this after the show. And
yeah, that's definitely worth checking out.
And that's what I was wondering. Like, isn't anybody seeing this? Like, I'm literally circling around, and nobody's pulling over to look at this. It was just strange.
Right. Well, so there's the whole thing, you know, within the UFO phenomenon. There's this whole thing. With, you know, many sightings, you know, sometimes there's multiple people. Someone will see the craft and then someone else won't see anything.
Yeah.
And there's this whole sort of dimension of this phenomenon, relating to maybe consciousness and things like that, as to why it is not perceptible to some people. Some people think this relates to, maybe something to do with the almost akin to the law of attraction, but the law of belief. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, where if you have this ontological framework of what you think is possible in reality, some people think and postulate that if there's something sort of radically outside of that framework of what you think is possible, that you just can't see it or recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of sort of anecdotal things that people lump in here, which also maybe suggest this, like people of the late 18th century seeing things in the sky, but in sort of the framework of the technology of the time, like they would see schooners and ships in the sky rather than disc-shaped objects,
Yeah.
And there's something strange with this. I don't really know what the answer is, because surely there's accounts of people who don't believe in UFOs or just thought that was completely impossible, and then they see one, and and it's demonstrated to them that they do exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there is this thing like that, and this could get into spirituality too and consciousness, where especially being a psychic person, if you're on a sort of different density level or frequency level, your soul, you might be able to pick up on phenomena. Like, are you clairvoyant at all and see things
Yeah.
where people don't see?
Yeah. I'm O negative. My parents were O negative, and I know people don't agree, but I think there's something to that as well. I think a lot of O negatives are abducted or monitored, or just it's just something strange with us for some reason.
Right. Yeah, there is
something different, not strange. Sorry.
Yeah, and Jim and I have talked to people, RH negative, things like that are unique to UFOs and aliens. So yes, that very well could be a good possibility.
Yeah, and also scientists know a little bit of everything about everything except O negative bloodline. They don't know anything. They just know that it's not from Earth. That doesn't make sense to me at all. So obviously there's something they don't want us to know. We're probably hybrids. I feel like I am anyway. I feel like I'm a hybrid. I don't feel like I fit in, so that would make sense.
Yeah, we know that there's been hybrid programs going on, since at least the 50s or even way before. I actually think I've come around to the understanding that hybridization programs are just commonplace. It's very common, and ET races, species are doing this all the time. And in order to maybe sort of ingratiate themselves onto a particular planet that they want something from, or they want to, have some kind of relationship with another species, they will form a hybrid, in order to sort of facilitate a relationship between another differing species. At least this is what I'm gathering from some abductee accounts who have had communication about this, and it seems like that hybridization programs might be really commonplace and kind of like a normal thing. Not that some of the programs, couldn't have, some nefarious aspect to them, or
yeah,
it's all, positive. But anyway, let's maybe move to the next experience, whichever that one is. I know you had this experience, or which is the next one chronologically that's interesting?
Oh Lord. Okay, let me think. There's a lot. Okay, so when I saw the orange orbs, it was at night. I went to Florida to visit my mom and dad.
What period was this? Was this adult, or this was?
Yeah, this was a couple years ago, a couple months before my dad passed. I saw them,
And this
and
is in Florida, and this isn't where you normally see them. This is you're somewhere else now,
yeah,
not at your home.
yeah, they retired to Florida, near Tampa, and so I would visit, and I was helping my dad take the trash out at night, and I just got a feeling to look at their roof, and these things were probably like, I don't know, 3 feet big, orange, bright orange orbs. There was 5 of them, and they appeared one at a time into a V shape. They're still orbs, but they went into a V shape. And
How close?
they were very close together, and they could have touched the roof. That's how close they were to the roof, but they were close with each other. Maybe like a foot apart.
That's quite large, 3 feet in diameter, you say?
They were big.
Yeah.
They were big. But I only saw them as orange orbs, so I didn't see like a craft inside or anything like that. I'd never seen anything like that in my life, actually. And so I said, "Hey, Dad, do you see this?" And he looked right at him, and he robotically said no, and he turned around and he walked in the house. And that was really unlike him, because we were best friends. He would always help me. He wouldn't have left me hanging like that. You know what I mean? Or he would at least said, "What do you see? What's going on?" You know? And so I remember he went in the house, I looked back up at them, and one by one they disappeared. And then I don't remember going in the house. I don't remember going to sleep. I just remember waking up the next day. And me and him never talked about it, ever. We never discussed it, which is weird too.
And so you didn't even, so the alien Xanax is going on with you, and because you didn't think to, like, the next day or something, like, Dad, geez, did you see that last night? You didn't do that. You never confronted him about that experience.
It was totally away from my mind to even want to. That's the whole thing. I had no desire to even want to do it. It was weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's gone. That part is gone, and I'm just living regular life. That's it.
Now, what was your emotional state whenever you first saw them? Was there any kind of anything that you noticed mentally or anything when you first saw the orbs? Because I know that a lot of cases with abductees, there's the case or the phenomenon where the orbs put them into a kind of state sometimes and trigger fear in some people.
Yeah.
And or maybe even triggering these altered states, that we go in, that abductees go into before an abduction. But what was your reaction to them?
The usual. I just go into this trance. I'm just completely calm, and I'm just looking at them. I don't say anything. I don't run. I just stand still, which is weird because I would have ran. Now with paranormal things, that it's still scary. Ghosts still scare. It's as exciting as they are. They scare me. But with aliens, I just have zero feelings. Nothing.
So you felt like you kind of went into a trance upon seeing the orbs.
Yeah, I just stood still like a little soldier, and I just looked at them.
And you think normally you probably would have been a little bit taken aback, like maybe because they were big and they're kind of really low down. They're at the height of your roof of your house. You'd said you'd probably be freaked out and scared. Yeah. We have an interesting clip, actually. I think we have in store that relates. Maybe we should play this clip, Todd. This is do you got it, Todd? The Carla Turner clip that we have.
Yeah, let me bring it up here.
She talks about the altered state and how it comes on, and yeah, it kind of relates to this. Let's bring that up and play that. And it's really reminiscent to what you're saying. She's saying that, like, I wasn't afraid of them, like I just went into the state where, I was just totally calm, unusually, uncharacteristically calm, about what was happening. And this is from like the 90s. This is a pretty old clip, but
you ready?
Yeah, go ahead and play it.
This is a very important and very interesting subject. A very good question.
Clark, I'd like to say something, having had the experience and also having worked with and listened to many, many other people with the experience. In one instance, when I had a daytime encounter, I was in an altered state before I knew I was having an encounter. It was almost technologically precise. I was walking from a neighbor's yard to my yard, and when I stepped, I was perfectly fine on this side of the line. I took a step over an invisible barrier, which immediately put me into an altered state before I even saw the ETs. So I felt it was very much an imposed, external, technologically produced state of mind, so that when I looked up and saw the little beings there in the yard, I didn't freak. I did not act as I would have normally. My normal state of consciousness was very much dampened, and there was surprise. There wasn't shock and fainting. The same thing seems to happen with other people. No matter, there's a change in how you normally would react, and I think it's imposed in some very external technological way. For instance, one abductee who was very upset about things that had happened with him and had said, the next time I get my little hands around their little necks, I'm going to smash them in the face. I'm really mad about this. They're not going to do me this way anymore. And he had a house guest staying at his house, and when the house guest was asleep in the living room on the sofa, the host woke up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason and looked down the hallway and saw the little blue light probe that had been in his house several times before during experiences or before the onset of one. He saw this bobbing over the head of the person who was sleeping in his living room on the couch. And he had just said, not 3 days before, if I ever see him again, I'm going to give him this. He looked up and said, oh, I know what that is. Out to sleep. The next morning was doubly furious. He had been thwarted in what he would have normally and naturally wished to do. So it seems like there's an imposed state, not perhaps dream state at all. Just something that dampens our normal response. And that's how it feels, really. And it's in the daytime. You know you're not sleeping when you're walking and talking and driving and cooking and so on. So it's not like the dream state feels.
Anyone else on the panel for that one? Okay, next.
Wow. It's right, a lot of the things that happen, I thought they were just dreams, but they didn't feel like, as a psychic, I have visitation dreams where spirits do come to me and I know it's really them. And that's how these abduction or visitation dreams would feel. They'd feel the same, like I'd feel being touched or whatever. And but I always told myself it was just a dream, They do that to people. Now I know that now. Yeah.
And like she was just saying, she wasn't scared. She didn't, she kind of just like, there they are. You know what I mean? So kind of something like what you was describing.
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong with me because I didn't understand. I'm naturally anxious. I'm very shy. I'm anxious. I didn't understand why I was doing this. It was just confusing. And I didn't talk to anybody about it. So I never knew. I just lived with and experienced it.
And so another thing, the perspective that Carla Turner has is that what's happening here is that they're doing something technologically.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe they are, because we know that this is a thing, and the government even has this technology, ELF, frequency technology, which is something low frequency, electronic low frequency. I'm not exactly sure. And they can induce certain psychological states with the frequency that they beam you with. They can make you complacent. They can make you in a hypnotic state. They can agitate you. Some people think, that there's a lot of this going on, even with population centers and people in mass, beaming these kinds of frequencies to facilitate certain agendas.
I do.
Yeah. So perhaps that is what is going on. Also, though, with these altered states, and I don't know if you have any experiences which correlate with this. A lot of times when they're triggered into the altered state, part of what's happening is, they're in the same sort of altered state where they've been abducted before. And it's like this, like I was telling you before the show, this sort of compartment of their memories where they have access to these memories that which they didn't normally have. And people will often remember that, oh yeah, I remember these guys, you know, the ETs, you know, and you know, this is, they remember the times before where they were abducted, and all those memories sort of come back in this altered state. And that's kind of partly why maybe they're kind of more calm about it, is because the ETs often at this point are familiar, you know, they recognize them, and they kind of have this sense of, you know, what's going to happen, etc. Let's maybe get into your abduction memories now. And so let's start at the beginning. What's the first conscious recall you have of an abduction experience where you were taken into a craft and remember things happening on board a craft?
So when they would show up, I would see them. I would be conscious, but then I guess black out at the time, and then it would look like a dream. So I thought they were dreams. So I don't remember being on a craft, but I remember dreaming I'm on a craft with details that now a lot of people have had happen to them too. So
now, now, are you remembering this the next morning? Like you wake up the next morning and you have this memory of what you think is a dream.
Yeah.
And it always normally starts out where you see them in your bedroom.
In my bedroom, or even like out back at night sometimes, but a lot of times in my bedroom. Yeah.
Let's go to the first experience that you remember.
Okay.
And take us through that moment by moment. Okay, so you're lying in bed in this dream, quote unquote dream, because we know that they're not really dreams. And what happens? Do you see the bright light? A lot of people report the bright light. Are you seeing the bright light, or do you just see the beings? No bright light.
No. Okay, so the first dreams I remember when I was younger, a lot of the times I would be in this, it looked like an abandoned town with no grass. Everything looked dead, with empty buildings. And there would always be like an alien and some strange human man chasing me. And when I would finally get through like this weird maze, they would stop chasing me. And I felt like the message was almost like, okay, you passed, and I would wake up. And that happened a lot before I turned into a teen, and then after I turned into a teen, I would have dreams of me on a table, and everything was very dull, like gray or silver, and I would never see their heads, but I'd see shoulders down, and I would hear them say, "Don't." I would start looking around, and I would hear them say, "Don't let her see." And when I would look, I remember one time they were doing surgery on my stomach, like lower stomach, with their hands, but it wasn't painful, it wasn't gory.
When you say hands, meaning they didn't have implements or tools or anything,
just their hands.
And was your abdominal region opened somehow, or
they were in there digging around, but not in a creepy way. It was just they were doing some type of surgery. And then I heard to say, "Don't let her see," after I saw it, and the vision went to me staring at myself holding two twin boys. I mean, they looked identical. They were probably 3 with the same bowl cut, dark brown hair. And I was staring at myself. It was the strangest thing. And then I just woke up, and I just felt it was a mixture of feelings. It was sadness and like I needed to get back there, but numb. It was just weird.
Well,
Go back.
One second, Jim. What kind of, in your dream, what kind of aliens were these?
There were, so I never saw their faces, but they had different heights to them. They always had like this silver kind of mesh cloth on them. You know, it was almost kind of shiny.
Typical, shiny, metallic looking suits are typical.
And so
Did
one would be a tall shoulder and one would be a short shoulder. Like that's literally all I would see.
Okay, no, that's good.
slender bodies? You were able to see their bodies.
Yes.
Were they slender?
Very, yeah.
Very slender. So these weren't sort of human looking, like Nordic or Pleiadian looking ETs. They've got much more slender bodies than us. So they weren't Nordic, so potentially grays or something of that kind of physiology.
I know the taller ones would be the ones that said, "Don't let her see," because I just knew that for some reason. The only other time that I saw faces, it's very rare, but one time I was in a ship. My dream was I was in a ship, and this female, but not female, like almost animal / female, was standing in front of me. She had a fake wig on. I knew it was a wig. It wasn't real. And her eyes looked like cat eyes. It was really strange. And then she scared me on purpose. And my reaction was I cut her arm off. And she gave me the creepiest smile after I did that. And I just stared at her. And then I woke up. And the other time it was, so I've had some sexual things most of the time it was in my dream. And those would be really creepy, scaly, buff, horned, reptile eye kind of. I thought it was cat eye. But they would be holding this thing in their hand that, looked obviously, sexual. And there'd be a bunch of women laying down next to me, all around my age. But they were all asleep and I was awake. And the room had like a curve. It didn't have like a square. And that scared the crap out. Sorry, that really scared me. That dream, terrifying.
Okay. Let's drill down on this dream.
Okay.
So is this just one dream of reptilian species, or has there been more than one of these dreams?
That thing showed up in my dreams a few times as an adult. But it's always that thing when it comes to like sexual stuff, But nothing actually had sex with me, but it was, I think they were using something.
They were doing something in your
Right.
private area.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is usually relating to, at least with the gray species anyway, the hybrid program. They're down there a lot of times collecting eggs or reinserting a potentially genetically altered embryo, which they allow to gestate in the mother for a period of weeks, and then they take it back out again. Do you remember, unless it's sensitive to talk about, do you remember any further details of what did it feel like? What kind of tools did they have?
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually talked about the detail of it because it's embarrassing and weird. But like I said, he was just holding it, and it was metal, but it had spikes on it. It looked like the typical sex toy that you use, and it looked like can I say penis shape or no? Well, I did. So.
Of course, yeah. I mean, this is a sincere,
Already said.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was metal and it had these like spikes on it.
Looked like, so you're saying it looked like a dildo with spikes on it?
And it scared me. It did. And he just looked at me really creepy. And he was standing above, and he was huge. And I was laying down on this wooden plank, just like the other women. And the other women had other creepy beings in between their legs standing up holding stuff. So he was like, I guess, my person. They had their own entity. They had their own being. So, yeah.
And did you get the feeling when you looked at him and saw what he had in his hand? What was the feeling that you got that he was going to do something sexual?
Yeah.
Did he give you the feeling that there was some kind of sadistic pleasure?
Yeah.
He wanted to. So it wasn't. So you didn't get the sense that it was methodical, like he was trying to perform some kind of procedure, you know, or
No, I always, well, one, I always had, it always felt, in my dream, I wasn't having sex, but I had the orgasm kind of feeling, right? But it was always fear with these things. And they would like that. So maybe it's an energy thing, exchange. I don't know. But I didn't like the feeling. I never talked about it. I didn't understand what was going on, you know?
Okay, now go back through the appearance and give as much detail as you can. So, color, what was the size of them? So let's break it down. There was just one of them next
For
to you. There was other ones next to other women, but there was just one sort of attending to you.
Yeah. And I saw detail of him. The others were kind of blurred out. But I know he must have been like maybe almost 7 feet tall. He was very tall, very, very muscular, extremely muscular. And he had these strange scales all over his arms and chest. And
Strange meaning, were they different than reptile scales? The same as reptile scales?
they
Or
were the same, but I had never heard of a reptilian before. So to me, it was just weird,
really
you know,
foreign okay.
because it was half human, half not human. And I didn't understand. That was scary to me. I didn't know what I was looking at.
Did it have clothing on?
No, it didn't. But it had a mask. It looked like it was just right here. It looked like a bone mask, but horns, really sharp, almost like, you know how some tribes have these scary masks to scare the other tribe. It was just like very intimidating. So it hid right here, but I could see his eyes. But he didn't have clothes on. I didn't really see below his belly button because I was laying down. I was looking up, but it was just creepy. So
Did he have horns himself? Did you see? Was the mask just covering the eye area? Did you see what was on top of the head or anything? Do you remember any detail at the top of the head?
I didn't see back here because he was hovering over me, but I thought the mask went like this, but so it looked like he had horns, but I thought it was just the mask with the horns on it.
Mm-hmm.
He might have, but it was just they were a tan color, like a dirtyish tan.
Oh, it was a tan.
Color.
Okay.
Oh well. Okay. Oh, by the way, Bob is here.
Okay, great. So that is consistent with how people describe reptilian species as being that size, 7 feet and above, very muscular is a commonly reported feature. Some of them do. That's the first I've ever heard the mask. That's interesting, that detail. That might have been, this might have been, I mean, I don't know, what you've heard. I mean, they're pretty strange, and they do seem to, have this propensity for sexually ritualistic things. Who knows? Maybe the mask was some kind of prop, piece,
Right.
that they wear, during these types of things. Any other details as far as the appearance, or as did he do anything like? Do you remember him actually utilizing the thing on you?
He held it like this and just intimidated me. But yeah, it was just weird. And then I woke up. So
anything odd about the next morning? The way you felt? I think you did go into that a little bit. How did you feel the next morning when you woke up? And by the way, was this a very vivid dream that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, at another time I was dreaming, and when I woke up, something really was happening to me. I actually really felt something doing something sexual to me. But this is a different time I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. After that dream, I felt dirty, like almost as if I'd been raped. Honestly, I just because it felt good, but I was scared. I was confused. It was just very strange. So.
Just mentally, you felt that way in terms of how you felt? No physical sensation or anything, or was there?
No, the second time when I woke up during something, I felt everything. I literally felt something enter me, go in and out. move around. It was just weird. It was just weird. And my legs were closed, so I was confused on why this was happening. And I was frozen. It was just weird. I don't know.
Yes, I was telling you backstage so this is not an uncommon thing, for the record here. I have 2 friends in my local area, people who are psychic, who have also had that same exact experience of feeling like something's having sex with them, although nothing is there, there's
Right.
nothing visible, but
Right.
they can feel it. And in the case of the one friend, she actually told me that there was tearing.
Okay.
Actually, which is disconcerting, and indicative that that this was a legitimate physical experience somehow. But you're saying your legs were closed, and so it's not that there was some being in there cloaked or something, like right.
Yeah,
There
I
was
didn't feel any. I'm gonna move over so Bob can sit down real quick, okay?
Okay,
Hold
sure.
on. Let me speed up.
Yep.
You got it?
Yep, I got it.
Sorry.
Hi, Bob.
So I didn't feel pressure on top of me. I just felt something go in me, and I don't, not to be gross, but I felt me open up and something slide. It very detailed. Okay, so I was not imagining this kind of thing, which scared me. But I didn't move. I didn't say anything at all, and it happened for a short amount of time. I don't think I was supposed to wake up. I kept feeling like it was an accident that I woke up, and then it just all stopped, and it never happened again, as far as I'm aware of. But I don't know.
Oh, so you were not fully awake when this was going on. Were you in a hypnagogic state, or were you feeling this in a dream state?
No, I was sleeping and something woke me up. And when I woke up, I started feeling something, happening to me. So I was awake.
So you woke up and it was already happening, or it
Right.
started when okay. And then it ceased once you became conscious and it stopped. So it's like something.
When I got too scared, it stopped. Yeah.
Her experiences are ongoing. She has marks on her body, bruises. Her implants radiate transmitted power, which I have measured. She's just
A weirdo.
She is being interacted with by whatever these things are.
And Bob, being that you're there with her, is there any, times when she's unaccounted for, or, I mean, so it seems like some of these experiences may be actual physical abductions, where she's taken potentially, right?
So we're kind of a stereotypical couple where she's the target and I'm in the way. So they knock me out, put me to sleep. I don't wake up until she tells you I get up very early every morning. And when these happen, I don't get up till 10:30 or 11. And so we have a video of one of them entering the front of the house, and then she had a big bruise on her arm, and I slept right through it.
One of what entering the house?
Whatever was some kind of tall, gray, alien-looking thing.
But it looked at the camera, and we saw the eye shape, the little dots for the nose, and the torso. And it had like this fog around it.
Yeah, it's a little pixelated, but you can make out the figure. It is clearly a tall gray.
I was trying.
Really? And so it came in through the front door.
Right through it.
That's the camera it was on, so.
Right through the door, because the door, unless it opened it and we are unaware of it. But I don't think it was open. The deadbolt was still deadbolted and so forth.
Yeah, and typically, they just go right through the door.
Right through the wall.
Yeah.
That's the bruise that his friend Grant Cameron would talk about on conferences, and so that was validating to me that these important people didn't shove me away thinking I was weird, that they're validating like, this does happen.
Grant said it was typical of these triangle-shaped bruises he sees in many abductees.
Mm-hmm. Is that a picture that we have, Todd, of this triangle bruise?
I do. I'm pulling it up right now. I just just have to hide these other screens here. All right, let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to go through these. They're not really in order, but we'll just go through them together. So explain what this one is.
This is the triangular shaped bruise she had on her arm after what we believe was an abduction experience. It was not there the night before, and let her tell you about her bruise thing.
Yeah, I don't bruise easily on my upper body, right, at all. And I didn't hit it on anything. I woke up and it was there, and it looked like it had little dots or punctured dots throughout it in the center. He called it something, I don't know, but it was just weird.
It looked like a pneumatic injector shot place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it when I do bruise, I usually just bruise on my legs, and when I do bruise there, I keep that thing for months. This went away in like 2-3 days.
2 days. 2 days, this thing was completely see that it's purple there? 2 days, it was gone.
And so that's something that's also fairly common with not just bruises on abductees, but any sort of physical markings on abductees. Even really, some have had really serious alterations. One particular abductee had something in his mouth that that was done, and it healed unusually fast. Within a couple days.
Yeah. So right here in her eye, she has a scoop mark.
I was just going to ask, is there any other?
And right here is where the implant is that I think is connected to the pineal gland. It transmits measurable RF power. I have a meter, and I can measure the RF power coming out of her head.
But I only personally saw, he picked up on that, but 20-some years ago, I personally saw the one implant in my leg accidentally fly. I was in the airport a lot, visiting a friend a lot in Florida. And I kept setting this thing off, this metal detector off all the time. And eventually I said, what's going on? Can I see what you're looking at? And at the time back then, you could see the detail of what the thing was. And it was about the size of a piece of rice, right, in my leg. And I never had surgery. I never fell. There's no scars there. She called it a metal detector. It's actually one of the 60 gigahertz detectors. Well,
way back then, when in the early days, they used to have a screen, and it was 60 gigahertz. You would do this. They would run the scan, and on a screen they would show what it is they were seeing. These were in the early days. They don't do that anymore. But she asked, could she see it? And she turned around and looked at it, and they pointed out this grain of rice in her leg.
I think I had it.
Did you say it was in your femur? I thought you said in another podcast it was actually in the bone, or was it in it's actually in the bone?
Well, I don't know if it's it was deep in my leg, but it's higher up. But he told me that a lot of people have it in their left leg also. So
the left leg, I didn't know that. So I got to reading about it.
I don't feel anything.
And apparently lots and lots of people that have these implants in their legs have it in the upper left leg.
And does this implant emit a radio frequency?
It does not.
It does not.
Not that I've measured.
Yeah.
I have a tri-field meter, and it measures the RF transmission.
Okay. And it's presumably metal, being that it's set off, or does that detect it? So it's metal, and that's
that's 60 gigahertz. Doesn't need to be metal. They're looking for plastic pistols, whatever. So it has some kind of pattern matching thing where it looks for things that look hidden or unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
okay, so that doesn't tell you whether it's metal, because I was going to say that usually, with implants, or at least the ones that abductees have been able to remove, it turns out that they're of a chemistry that's in line with the chemistry of our own body, elements that are found naturally in the body, probably deliberately, so that
quite a few of them have the composition of meteorites, so like they come from space, but they are always wrapped in the sheath of your own tissue, so your body doesn't reject it because it's shielded from your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. These things are weird.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No. And no one has ever really been able to make any headway on what's their function. I know a lot of abductees have the intuition that they're for tracking. You know, a lot of abductees say that they have a tracking implant in their head is where they usually think the tracking one
I
is.
can tell you, I doubted this. I doubted it completely until I got the ideas that allowed me to found a company called Hawkeye 360 that can track small transmitters from space. That's what that company does, and the U.S. government uses it. I mean, I didn't believe it until I actually figured out how to do it.
And we'll go into that. What expand on that?
Yeah, look, I founded the company Hawkeye 360. That's easily found, and you can figure out kind of what they're about. And basically, I had ideas that were improvements over RF geolocation of things that are transmitting on the Earth from orbit. And the new science and new engineering is how to do it extremely accurately with small antennas from low Earth orbit. So I patented all that. The patents are available. Anybody can go look at them and see that that's what Hawkeye is doing. And I now know how ET does it.
How they do what precisely?
Find the things on the ground that are emitting small amounts of power. You don't need even a lot of power. The stuff I invented, it can find really weak signals from on orbit and locate them to within a meter.
Like from an implant?
Yeah, or from anything that's a low powered transmitter, even an implant.
So you're saying that it's feasible then that these could be tracking that they could be tracking people with these implants even from space.
I'll tell you, it's feasible enough that $1 billion company was started doing it. I mean, I was just shocked. But anyway, I know now that what she's saying is not only possible, it's feasible and can be done. I could track her if I wanted to.
Would you mind if I got a glass of water real quick while you guys?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I'm
sure.
sorry.
Yeah.
You want water?
No, I'm good. Or you can bring me my water glass because I forgot it. Yeah, so yeah, she continues to have these experiences, and we have had other kind of weird experiences where we regularly see stuff around the house, and these are clearly craft, and they are surveillance craft, and she of course has these extra capabilities that most people don't have, and one of the most distinctive ones she says is alive. So we regularly sit out on our back porch and look at the sky and see what we can see, and we regularly see stuff. So we had a helicopter fly over the house, caught on our security cameras. It was extremely loud. It was illegally low, and we have no memory of it. None of our neighbors complained about it, but we were there. And the only reason we knew it happened is we looked at the video 2 days later. There was missing time for us.
Wow. So it was really low. It was really loud on the camera, and you have no memory of it.
And no neighbor complained about it. And it was illegal. It was like 150 feet in the air over a gated neighborhood.
And you have no memory of it.
No memory at all of it.
So being that it was a helicopter, I mean, there are some abductees that have said that, the ET ship.
It looked like a helicopter. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Well, what do you think? Do you think it actually was a helicopter? Or do you think it could have been a MILAB, a military black ops type of abduction?
I absolutely think that if it was not NHI, it was MILABs. She's had MILABs abductions. She has memories of being in the cavern with mixed humans and entities and laying on a table while they're doing stuff to her.
Well, there's ETs and humans in the same.
Together. Working together.
Uh-huh.
Which kind of brings me back to when she was saying about at that airport, is it the Martin Airport, something like that, where she was saying that she would see these, I don't know what they were, probes or something, following other planes, and we had helicopters following them. So, and I had brought up that perhaps that was something that the government and the ETs were together with.
Yeah, so Maryland has a National Guard airport right next to Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And Aberdeen, look, we've had triangle UFOs fly right over the top of our house. We've been driving down US Highway 40 where it winds, it's not straight. And the triangle UFO stayed centered in her sunroof while I looked up at it while she was driving. And the only way it can stay centered in the middle of your sunroof if you are driving down US Highway 40 is it was following us because the road zigs and zags too much. So, I mean, we've had all sorts of weird experiences. And I think it's associated for whatever reason with Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
So Aberdeen Proving Grounds, I believe, is a known black site, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, the aerospace industry has some stuff going on there.
I mean, nobody in their right mind would go there when they fire artillery shells there all the time. It's a perfect place.
Yeah.
They shake our house with their explosions.
Oh, really? Oh, it's that.
And we're 10 kilometers from
them.
them.
So these events where you have black triangular craft, which is, you know, likely black ops, either from what insiders have said, that's either Northrop Grumman or Raytheon type craft.
Whatever.
And are they? I mean, they're not just following you just for the hell of it, you know, to sort of harass you. You think, or do you think that you're actually maybe being picked up? I know a lot of people think that, and it's been proven, you know, in some cases with regressions, you know, that these incidents where craft come down really, really low, you know, and are sort of following your car, and you think nothing happens, actually turns out that they.
She has had missing time incidents when she's found a UFO near Aberdeen Proving Grounds and followed it and saw it, and she would have no memory of how she got home. That night I do not believe we had missing time. And Todd, I interrupted you putting the pictures up. You can put them up if you want to. It's up to you guys. You're in charge of your own show.
That's okay. I had some other questions here with some of these, and I do have videos too that Lala gave us, but I am just curious about some of these pictures. So let me share the screen back here.
I already saw one that I have a great story about.
Okay, really good.
Oh, I know which one. I know. Yeah. She has good ones, and she's the person that finds them. We have these videos, and suddenly there'll be a flash in the video, or I might even miss it, and she'll know where to look. Yeah, that's a good one.
Before you go into these, now are these things that are only showing up on camera, or are you sometimes?
No, we're not. We are not seeing these. We find these on our cameras, and motion detection records them.
So motion detection actually picks up on them.
Absolutely.
And you said also in another podcast that sometimes they're illuminating the trees in the surrounding.
And the roof of a house is behind us.
Yeah, the one video where the entity moves the camera to the roof that they light up, they moved it themselves so that we would notice them lighting up the trees and the roof.
Yeah, that's so great. But let's talk about this. So she's noticed there was a flash in the sky on the video that excited the motion detection, or something else did, but she caught this flash. She zoomed in on the flash, and there's this, and it's high in the sky to the north, caught on the camera. It's fairly low resolution, but it's, you can make out a structure, and is illuminated on one side and darker on the other side, and in the middle of the night after midnight. This means it's illuminated from the east by the sun, and the rest of it's in Earth's shadow because that part's away from the sun. And so I took these photos and showed them to a MUFON meeting in Virginia, and the deputy director of Space Force was there and sat with myself and Linda Thompson. And I showed him this picture, and he started scrambling to get me his email address and other things. And I had to send him every one of these pictures.
Why do you think he was so interested in this one? It was this picture.
He, of course, shared nothing with us. Kept his mouth shut and just said he wanted. And that's it. Again, rotated, went like this and rotated like this. So those two pictures were taken 2 or 3 weeks apart, and they are the same vehicle, but rotated 90 degrees.
I talked the first time I saw that. I talked to them and I said, "Can I please learn more about you and this and that?" And then it showed up later on, and we got the different angle of it.
It's amazing.
It came back a third time, but I don't know where to put this.
I'm unhappy this is cropped so closely. We should fix this, because up there where it looks like there's a person's face. Oh, go back to the other
I
picture.
put it on my TikTok. So
Up there where there's somebody's picture in that thing, in this picture right here, there's a triangle right there where that picture is. 3 lights, everything.
That's very wow.
Right.
And then when I look at the first one, I mean, it's like you can see these.
Oh yeah, and it's just rotated 90 degrees. That was 2 weeks apart.
And you see the little bright ball.
Look and go grab the other one, and you'll see it.
It's on the other one. But listen, we saw another craft during the daylight, and I should have gave that one. That was a different shape craft, and it had the little bright ball on an arm.
Down the bottom left, the bottom leg on the left is whatever it is that was illuminated.
I mean, like, what is this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Well, of course, it didn't drop down and tell us to come look at it and take a ride inside. But I mean, we don't know what this is. All we know is calculations that I did that are rough. But this thing is over 100 kilometers from us.
Wow.
Yeah, it's way up. Way up in outer space.
That's where. Okay. Now, so it's way far away. So I was thinking it originally when I was looking at these pictures, when you were on a podcast with Grant Cameron, that these were, right, outside your house and stuff, and that they were interested in.
Other ones we have are right outside our house.
Oh, really? So some of these things seem like they're interested in you or you guys. Yep. They're not just.
The others, I think, are associated with whatever's going on here between us and them.
But I mean, honestly, they started coming around more when I lost my family and boyfriend and friend. I didn't have anybody else left to talk to, and so I would talk to them, and I say, "Can you please just show up or send me a sign just to get me out of my head?" And they would. They started. It looked like stars moving around weird at first, and after a few months, and then next month they'd come closer and closer and closer. And I still talk to them. I don't do it as much because I don't need them as much, but that's what was going on for some of it.
All right, to give us a rundown on what this video is here.
Oh.
I love that.
Oh, look at this thing coming out of the wall. So okay, watch it make a turn and then a bank to the right. That night, there was a nor'easter. The winds were blowing right to left, 45 miles an hour. And don't come telling me it's a bug or a spider, because that thing turned head on into a 45 mile per hour wind.
And it had like a third leg or
whatever. I have no idea what it is. What is it? We have no idea. But I know what it isn't, because they don't fly in a 45 mile an hour winds head on.
But it never came back, and some people said that they thought it was there to check us out, or
I don't know.
Does it look like it's passing through the wall? Or?
Yeah. Yes. It looks exactly like it came out of the wall, made a bank, turns right, makes a bank to the right, and then takes off, and that is into a 45 mile an hour headwind.
So cool. I wish it would come back.
It definitely seems like something anomalous. It's got a U. It's got a
look at it leave the wall right there.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to tell us it was a spider. That's just so much baloney. It took me under 15 minutes to go to the weather services find the wind patterns for the time that's on the clock in that video and see it was blowing 45 miles an hour in a nasty nor'easter.
It was an alien spider.
Yeah, alien spider, yeah, whatever.
Interesting. And now, like, again, I just want to get clarity here. Now, if you were outside and looking with your eyes, would you have seen any of this? Or is this just something you would have seen something?
Some yes, some no. I mean, well,
Yeah.
a lot of that happens while we're asleep.
So
And all sorts of stuff that happens on our motion activated cameras while we're asleep. But when we're outside, we definitely see stuff.
sometimes we'd see a shiny metallic ball. It's like the size of a basketball, and would fly over. We'd be in the back porch at night. It would fly over the neighbor's roof and then fly over us and then our roof. That happened a few times, actually. And sometimes we'd see it and it would just hover and disappear. Sometimes we saw orbs with our own eyes. Usually it's the camera that picks it up. But we have seen, and we had one I called the flasher, where I would take his camera flash and flash it, and they would flash back.
Oh, yeah.
It was, I mean, this happened for a while. It was really cool.
Really?
So let's take a look at this video. Sorry, Jim. We'll get.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Watch this. Watch the gutter up here. Watch the gutter move. See the gutter move? It's this, whatever it is. It's a shame. Can you play the audio? No, this doesn't have audio. There's clear audio.
Where's the gutter at? Oh, that's the gutter.
Right
Okay.
here is the
Yeah,
gutter.
and watch it move.
That's what the entity appeared.
We didn't do it. So you can hear the thing hit the deck. That's out on our deck. You can hear it hit the deck. Then you see this like humanoid energy shape in the center, and it moves the camera. The glow goes down, and the orb takes off back to the sky. Same way it came. And it moved it toward the house where we left it pointing, that always has the things above it and going in and out of the roof. They wanted us to stop looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It's wild.
What do you think? I mean, have you been, trying to come up with some hypotheses here? What are they doing? Is it psychological? Is it kind of are they, what are your ideas as to what the heck they're
Did
doing?
you guys get the picture of the purple with the blue with the smoke and the alien head in it?
I forgot.
Okay, so we were out on the she was out on the deck flat. We were out on the deck looking at the sky, and we saw some of our usual stuff. And she says to me, "Hand me the big camera." So I handed her my Canon EOS R with a big fancy lens on it, and she points it at the ground, not the sky, and goes click. And I says, "Why are you pointing it there?" She says, "Let's look." And she opened the screen on the viewer, and there was that same kind of smoke Todd had up earlier, but inside the smoke was a great tall gray alien head, and it was pointed at a place 6 feet in front of us.
And so, Lala, you just all of a sudden, I mean, what happened there? What did you feel? I mean, to just suddenly take that picture the way you did?
Yeah, the usual. It's almost like a gentle push to do it. It's just. I didn't.
You didn't get a telepathic message, language in your head saying, take a shot here.
Not
It was
that
just more
time.
of
Okay, but the one where the face is in it, she was communicating with them telepathically
After.
within a few hours.
This was just.
And they told us that we're to get on with it and do as much work as we can with soft disclosure, that we need them and they need us, and they're going to help us tell the story.
Okay, so do you think that that's maybe what's going on here? They're presenting you with phenomena which they expect you to present to the public and
On shows like this and other things, and other things. But some of them I think are human-based reconnaissance things.
But isn't there some aspects where they seem like they're trying to stay hidden, or the camera moves away from the thing? And so how does that, how do you square that with the fact that they're trying to show you things? Or is there more, or is,
Sure. Of different entities.
I think they're trying to keep us interested in looking and guessing, so that we're preoccupied with this, and it is a large part of our life now.
mm-hmm.
I personally feel there's some that monitor me. There's some, and some I feel almost like they could be family. They feel nurturing. It's just a feeling. And there's some that it doesn't feel. It feels very business and almost like very cold and businessy. Like I wouldn't want to get to know them. So I think there's a few different types of situations that are going on. I know they've always been with me. So I think they're just keeping tabs somewhat, and also the soft disclosure.
Well, give us an example of a cold and businessy phenomenon. Or so sometimes you get the feeling, or what would that be? Do you have any examples?
Like the one video we showed you where it came out of the wall and flipped around. I didn't. Usually, I'll either feel numb or kindness, or this one I felt it was more business. I didn't feel like I had a connection to it.
So you maybe feel like it wasn't, sort of like putting on a display in this instance, like it was doing something maybe.
Right.
And it came here to like do something.
I shared the entity picture.
Mm.
Give me 1 second here. Where did you share it?
I just added.
Add to the stage.
Yep. So she took this picture. All the smoke was there, and then this face. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna point it wrong. This face right here, with 2 eyes, a nose, etc., was in the middle of this smoke. And this right here, she's pointing at the ground, but this right here is an orb. It's not a star or anything because she's pointing at the ground. And before the night was over, she came out of the bedroom and bathroom and says, "Hey, they just came and visited me and told us what we're supposed to do." Says, you describe it, because it was weird.
Wow.
It sounded like, you know how a bunch of bees sound is like a hive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a bunch of sounds, and it went around the room, and then it went to one voice, and it's usually male, and it said pretty much, stop using your ego, stop butting heads, and you have something to do. You're going to help us, we're going to help you. So that was pretty much, we have to get on track with what they're here for.
It was a clear-cut order to get on with it.
They said, that's pretty much what they're saying.
How often are you getting telepathic messages from them? And describe the telepathy if you can. Is it so you're getting sentences in your normal way? Are these coming in during dreams or your normal waking state? You're getting sentences, and who's doing the sending? I mean, where's it coming from? Do they identify themselves, or?
I usually am awake when I hear them. I do have dreams where they talk to me, but I don't really remember what they're saying. I know I'm taking information, and I'm supposed to be learning something that they're telling me in my dreams, but I don't remember. But while I'm awake, it doesn't happen that often, but it's always a man, and it's a calm, dominant voice, but calm, and it's almost like a teacher, like, you have to do this, you're going to do this. So, and it always sounds so close, right next to my ear. So.
And now do you feel like you're hearing something audible with your ears, or are you hearing something like the voice in your head? You're not actually hearing it, you're perceiving it
I
as
hear
you
it
walk
out.
in your head.
Yeah.
You actually feel like you're hearing it with your ears.
And I don't doubt that because
Uh-huh.
I hear noises and things that sound like possible voices and things moving around, and they constantly are unplugging my Google Home device from behind the bed where it's almost impossible to reach.
When we did a presentation for Lauren Fenton last year in California, we had a video of a strange shaped orb that I would say hi out of the camera. And I would say hi to them, and this thing flew by and said hi, just hi.
Oh yeah, it went right by the camera. It's a swoop through the camera, and as it goes by the camera, it goes hi.
And then there was another one that sounded like a female, but there was another one where it sounded like a man, but a different language I've never heard before, and it talked really slow and really deep, and I didn't know what it was saying. I put it online.
Guttural, mechanical, robotic sounding, and you couldn't understand a thing it was saying.
And it had a whistle. These things have whistles with them a lot of the time.
Yep. Yeah, we need to organize that stuff so it's easier for people to find. Anyway, I shared the surveillance craft.
Let me bring that up.
This thing is in and around our house a lot.
Yeah.
And so I had her view this picture and reach out here, and she says it's alive.
She said it was what? It's
alive.
Alive.
It's a living being.
Yeah, like not a metal craft, but something.
Right.
It might be a metal craft, but it's also a living being.
Right.
And that's its body.
Which is, there's a lot of insider testimony substantiating the existence of craft like that are kind of similar.
It's not perfect, but you can see structure all through that. Yes, we know Dorothy is that, and her many recordings.
Do what?
You do. It's the light lady from Canada that lived not far from Dave and has passed away.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You should have heard us in the beginning where she would talk to me about her dreams. And I didn't say anything. I just let her go on and on about her dreams because I recognized what they were. They were fragmentary memories of all of her abductions and experiences. And so I didn't say anything, just let her go on and on. And then I started showing her writings of other people who have identical experiences. And she had no idea until then that they were non-human intelligences interacting with. She thought they were dreams. And then we had a regression, and there you go. Now we know.
And for some reason, I was allowed to talk to him about most of my experiences, which is unusual because usually I would be shut down when I would try. So
something wanted us to get together and explore.
I do feel that. Yeah.
We feel that very strongly. Too many weird things put two people who have no knowledge of each other, live 1,000 miles apart together.
Right.
And Lala, you was just talking about an orb. You had gave us this video.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the music.
So my friend that I knew, he passed away last year, but I didn't know. The only reason I found out, we really didn't talk too much for a little while, and he showed up in my dream, and he looked kind of sad, and he wouldn't look me in the eye, and he showed me a bridge behind him. And then I knew when I woke up, I looked up and I found his obituary. So I talked to him and I said, please show up. And that's what showed up, his orb. So
Dad and John Yost, who is a friend of ours, passed away. And we said, John, we hope you're okay. I hope you show. And a gigantic orb came into our garage and stood right in front of our camera in the garage. It was emotional.
And it stood still, because I know there's a lot of people that think these type of videos showing the orbs, people feel they're dust particles.
They are not.
And maybe sometimes they are, but there's definitely some, I feel anyway, that definitely seem to be intelligently controlled I know I've seen some of your orb videos that just like there's no way. I mean, it seemed like they were really had some propulsion to them, you know, and were moving in ways that don't seem natural. You know, we know how floating dust particles move because you could see them, you know, and they kind of settle, you know, they might kind of, you know, gently, you know, do some movements around. And there shouldn't be any quick movements unless there's like wind or
And
something.
we don't have a fan or a vent.
You don't have any
here.
fans.
There's microphones on the cameras, and you can hear the air conditioner when it's running. There was no air conditioner. We're not moving around, stirring stuff. We have one recently. I wish we hadn't put it up. But anyway, it was a freaking snowstorm of orbs. Just a snowstorm. Share the one I just added up, and then I'll stop messing with your show and let you run it.
Messing with the show.
Can I just say something really quick?
Absolutely.
With the orbs, thank you. When my dad passed, I visited him at the funeral home, and it was just me in there. And I remember the light started to flicker, and all of a sudden, bright as the sun, the size of maybe like, I don't know, a golf ball, was a bright orb hovering over his chest. And I knew that was him, and it got real tiny and shot into his nostril. And that was him teaching me that we're energy. I'm still here. I'm alive. I'm energy. This is what I am now. And that was amazing because he was always my teacher, but it was just neat that he taught me also afterwards. So he showed up quite a bit after he passed. He really helped with a lot of issues. So
we're sitting in our truck out in a field, which is right part of the golf course that's right next to us. And she notices something in the sky and picks up her camera and goes click. This is not a flash. You can see its color. She could see these things. And then I got one on the other side of the truck. This is the best one because there's 4 of them in it. Whatever these cryptids are, I don't have a clue, but they were swimming in the sky right over the top of our truck.
Interesting. Yes. So I've actually seen things like this with, have you ever seen something, Lala, with your own eyes that kind of was very sort of subtle, almost energetic, but just barely physical there, you know, but just, and leaves a tracer, you know, and darts across. I've seen something like that. It was gold at night, shoot by, but it was very, very subtle, no sound. Gave me the impression when I saw that, oh, you know, we could be missing things like this all the time, you know, that are happening.
And we are. We're people just don't look around and look up and notice they're in their own little world, and stuff like this happens all around them.
But they also are very good at hiding. You know?
And you see these in Maryland, correct?
Yeah.
This is where you have all your
This is
right by but that thing was like a block from our house.
That's that's 65 milliwatts coming out of her head. I mean, come on. It goes up to 180 before that video is over.
And so there shouldn't be any background.
No, I turned off all the Wi-Fi, all this, as she moves it around. Finally, she takes it down and moves it over to her right and watch it go up to 197.
We found it.
I mean, this is impossible.
When I do readings, I get a lot of pain there where that thing is, and so I brought that up, and so that's why we did that.
Okay, let me do.
I know there's abductee accounts where they have experiences where the ETs are drilling into their head right there, and are doing something right in the third eye area. I've run into a couple accounts like that where I don't know.
Same night, we're sitting in the truck. I see a ribbon, and I'm looking at her in the passenger side, and all of a sudden, the ground around the truck just lights up, and I throw my camera out the window and go click, and that gigantic bright orb was caught in the camera.
Oh, so that thing on the top left is the okay. So that's the
orb. Yeah, it's a gigantic orb, about 100 feet up and many feet across. It's above the trees. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the ones I saw when I spent time with Chris Bledsoe.
You spent time with Chris Bledsoe.
Oh yeah, I'm the next to last episode in his book.
People usually see things with Chris Bledsoe. Did you have any
Oh
experience?
yeah, that and I experienced a miraculous healing.
Oh, really?
On my person. Yeah, I had heart attacks, and all evidence of me having a heart attack has been erased.
Really? So your heart health improved?
100% function, and
Really?
no obvious damage.
And this is something that happens a lot with him, I guess. And
Oh
people
yeah,
go
he
to him.
doesn't really tell people, but he has healed. It's got to be 1,000 people.
He's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy. Oh, this is weird. This is so weird.
I forgot about that.
Okay, so we would go out to this park, and she would hold the camera up and go, "Please show me you're here," and went click. And she takes 7 pictures. 6 of them are stars, and the 7th one is this thing here on the left.
What?
Yeah, and one of the pictures is this. So we put it up on Facebook or Twitter, and a lady from Michigan sends us this and says, I've had something like this, and look down here at this entity holding a wand in air with its 2 eyes, its chin and beard, and whatever this is in its tiny little hand.
So wait, the picture on the right is from the woman
In Michigan.
Really? So it looks like it's the same thing, very similar.
Yep.
Like,
Hang on, I'm going to show it to him.
The,
I'm going to show it
Yeah.
to him. Don't worry.
and the little dots behind ours are actually stars. There was tons of stars out that night.
Okay, where is yeah. That's the little entity that was in the one that was sent to us from Michigan. So weird. And let me find the craft coming out of the portal. We got to organize these better. This is
We've
ridiculous.
had that design show up another time, not as strong.
Okay, you see all of these? These are multiple copies of these surveillance craft around our house. We don't put many of them up because they all look the same. This is right here. Okay. And you zoom in on that hole that was in that one of ours, and this craft is coming out of the hole.
and where's you shooting the camera at here? Or is it,
Straight up at the
You're
star.
In a park. We went out there to do CE5, and here you go.
About 20 minutes from our home. Yeah. But it's nobody was around. There were no car lights. It was pitch black, stars, because we had to walk a little bit to get there.
so what the I mean, you're not getting any sky in this shot here. I mean, it seems like
Oh, no. The sky was blank, but we have others. Let me see if the one's here. I don't know if it is or not.
So the sky is in the picture, but that thing imprinted on top. But if you look around the little dots, like I said, those really are the stars. I made that picture stand out more so you could see it better.
oh, so you zoomed into it, like there was sky around it, and then you zoomed into it.
Yeah.
That and the others, you could clearly see the stars.
Because
Oh, I love this one.
I was wondering why some of the holes were white and some were black. That's why I zoomed in.
So we were sitting out on the road by the cemetery here in town, and she says, "Oh, look at the moon over the railroad trestle," and takes this picture, and this is in it. And we took another one later, and it had moved over here, so it's moving from right to left.
That was strange.
That's so strange. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, very interesting.
But I love that picture. Look at the moon and the railroad and that thing sitting over the top of it. So weird. All right, let me find one more, and I'm just going to shut up. Shut up. Okay. Let's see.
Well, they have more pictures I sent to him.
Okay, well, they do whatever they want to do. I just want to. I'm very anxious to have people that want to look at these things
Mm-hmm.
because they're cool.
No, yeah, we're really interested in these. Yeah.
Okay, I could go on forever. Just what?
This right here. That was on the
Oh,
neighbor's
yeah.
roof.
Yeah, this. Yeah, let me do this. It's pixelated, but this is the neighbor's roof. It's hard to tell it's the neighbor's roof, but this I know is furniture in their room that's up there. And these things, whatever that is and that is, are on the roof.
So what would happen is when they would shine the light, a light would crawl over the neighbor's roof, and sometimes we would see like these entities or things. I think the person was getting abducted because one time we got it on video. The light crawled over the roof, and all of a sudden it looked like this body bag shot out of the house up into. It looked like a mini. I swear it looked like an upside down helicopter, and then everything just disappeared. And so I think that because it happened so much on the neighbor's roof, I think that the person is going through something. But I'm too afraid to say anything to the person, honestly.
And I have no idea what this craft is, but it was pretty large and about many kilometers away and grabbed by the camera using her. I see a flash. Let me zoom and look, and there it was. Okay. I mean, you guys get the idea. We got a lot of stuff, and we could do this forever. This has been going on for 2 years. And how it started was interesting. We were hearing stuff in the house. Stuff was getting moved. I thought it was poltergeist, and I put up cameras. And the camera that was in the foyer was in night vision. Something, not us, at 2-ish in the morning, 3 or whatever. You can hear it walking, and it flips on the light switch and turns the light on. So the camera goes from night mode IR to color mode during the day. And at that moment, the microphone on the camera records clear as day, electronic voice phenomenon. Hello, Xander.
Xander.
Who is Xander?
That's my son, and the voice was my boyfriend. We have a son. And he named him Xander. So he liked to make, when he was live, he would make funny voices. And one of them was like a radio show host kind of voice. And that's what we picked up. So.
And I think you had some really bizarre other kind of poltergeist activity happen. You had a story where boxes somehow piled up and blocked a doorway or
Yeah, after this was in Florida at my parents' house, and after my dad died, I had to go to Florida right away because my mom, she had a master's, but she was physically handicapped in a wheelchair, so I had to go help her. And as soon as I got in that house, it was fine the first day, and all of a sudden I was cleaning my dad's bedroom. My dad had an accident and bled to death in his bedroom. And I moved crystals out of his window, and just shit hit the fan. Sorry if I can't cuss, but there was a shadow person that flew over me. The boxes piled up on top of each other, and the cat is looking up at something.
So you actually watched boxes move by themselves. Yeah. You saw this happen.
Yes.
Multiple boxes.
It was like 4 boxes, big boxes. And it blocked the doorway. Because in the garage, they kept a lot of boxes, you know. When they moved, they kind of shoved stuff in there. Anyway, one of the cats that liked me all of a sudden started slowly, like I was the prey, started growling at me and slowly walking towards me. And I ran and locked myself in the bedroom, and my mom had to yell at the cat. It was just weird. Weird stuff was happening, and
your dad just passed away prior to this,
like a day, and then it started happening once I moved something out of the window. So,
and your perception is that it wasn't your dad. You felt like something was harassing you, or maybe kind of.
I think there was a demon. I've never said that before in my life. I do.
Dahoot asked a question: do we live on a ley line? The answer is no. but we live on Native American land that they built this complex on.
Yeah, interesting. And I was gonna get back to that question about the ley line, because that's very interesting, and it was good for him to bring it up because people don't think about that. So that was definitely good that was brought up.
Yep. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
And you think that that's fundamentally related to the phenomena?
I think the Native American land, which was expropriated and the entire tribe disappeared after the settlers got here, that it is involved. I've got one video. I don't know where it is. I'll have to get it in, but it took me a while to figure out what the figure was in it, because I couldn't make heads nor tails out of it. And something had me look into the Manitou of the Susquehanna American Indians, and it was the twin of what walked up on our front porch. Was a picture of a Susquehanna Manitou, which is a Indian spirit, a Native American Indian spirit with power that used to be a medicine man. And they go through rituals and become special. I mean, I'm ignorant, but I wouldn't doubt it. Her father was into it. He went into the sweat lodges. He was an energy worker and so forth. And from her description of how the Native Americans treated him, they thought he was a shaman.
But you don't have any Indian in your blood, though, Native American.
I don't.
Not that I know of.
But they he was like the sweetest person ever, and he was a healer, so I think they just kind of took him in. But he was very drawn to them.
But he would go off and spend weekends with them in a sweat lodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the spiritualness of the Native Americans. I mean that could explain a lot of things. So.
Yeah.
Well, that he taught her. He was her Reiki teacher.
Yeah. I was hard-headed and didn't always pay attention, but that's okay.
All right, Jim, you got anything else for us tonight?
Well, maybe we'll just leave it at that since we're over 2 hours.
Well, I'll tell you what, this was a fantastic show tonight. And Bob, I thank you so much for joining in with us. We learn a lot. Layla, thank you so much. Lala. I don't know why I keep calling you Layla.
Okay.
You must look like a Layla.
A lot of people say Layla, actually, so I'm used to it. It's okay. It's nice either way.
But it was great talking to you about your experiences. And Jim and I would definitely love to have you both back on discussing more ufology and things of that nature. Lots of pictures, Bob, you have. And I'll tell you, I am intrigued when I see lots of pictures and videos.
Look, I make no presumption that this is scientific evidence for somebody to do something with, but these are truthful representations of what we are living with, whatever it is.
Yes,
and perhaps they have more in store for you to see. Perhaps they're going to push the envelope down the road. You think that? I mean, that's probably likely. They're not just going to keep giving you the same things. They probably got some surprises. And so it'd be interesting to check back in with you.
Yeah, they're telling me that I was spending too much time watching news and political stuff because they've started unplugging the television regularly.
Wow.
Unplugging it from the wall regularly.
Yeah, unplugging it from the wall. And I was blaming other people in the house, and now I know it isn't.
Wow.
Since I was watching it once when they did it.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of a mini Skinwalker Ranch kind of.
Oh, that's weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bob and Layla, if people want to look you guys up and see more content that you may have, where would they need to go?
Facebook is the best place with our albums.
YouTube is Orbis, Orbis Paranormal. Every Tuesday we do a show. You guys got to come on, by the way.
Yep.
And yeah, Facebook. He's on Twitter or X a lot. So
I'm on UFO Spaces a lot on X.
yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, I want to thank you both very much. Jim, I want to thank you. If you guys have anything you want to talk about after the show, stick around and we'll definitely talk to you. All right. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. A Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure is looking to talk with ufologists, researchers, investigators, contactees, abductees, channelers, and more for upcoming shows. Or if you have stories, photos, videos, questions, suggestions, or comments, please contact us through Messenger or email us at paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. I thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure.